What if the dream wedding of the century became the ultimate act of rebellion? Bimbo Fadake was supposed to say, I do, but instead, she chose freedom over fear, leaving her controlling fiancé at the altar in front of hundreds. A scandal? Oh, yes, but also the start of her greatest journey. Bimbo, a bright and ambitious young woman, believed she had found her happily ever after when she met Richard Bankole, a wealthy and charming businessman. Their whirlwind romance felt like something out of a dream. Candlelit dinners, spontaneous weekend getaways, whispered promises of forever. When he proposed under a canopy of twinkling fairy lights in front of a cheering crowd, she eagerly said yes. The world sees perfection, but beneath the surface, small warning signs begin to appear, like cracks in a beautiful glass vase. As the wedding planning begins, Bimbo noticed subtle shifts in Richard's demeanor. His charm remained intact, but with an emerging possessive streak. He insisted on making all the decisions, disregarding her opinions entirely. The wedding venue, the guest list, and even her choice of dress. Everything must align with his grand vision. When she voiced her concerns, he dismissed them with a condescending smile, calling her silly for worrying. The suffocation crept in slowly, but she convinced herself it's just pre-wedding stress and jitters. One evening, while celebrating their engagement, Bimbo accidentally spilled wine on Richard's expensive suit. His charming facade shattered in an instant. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened, and he lashed out, calling her careless and ungrateful. The restaurant fell into a stunned silence. Humiliated, Bimbo fought back tears. Hours later, he apologized profusely, blaming it on work stress. He held her close, whispering that he loved her, that she is his world. She forgave him, convincing herself it was an isolated incident. Bimbo confided in her best friend Lisa about Richard's growing temper. Lisa's face hardened with concern. Bimbo, this isn't normal, she warned. But denial is easier than confrontation. Bimbo brushed it off as stress induced mood swings. Meanwhile, Richard's possessiveness tightened like a noose. He started monitoring her phone calls, questioning her every move, demanding to know where she is at all times. When she pushed back, he showered her with lavish gifts and grand gestures, keeping her tied to his world. Richard made a shocking decree. He said, once they are married, Bimbo will quit her job. A proper wife doesn't need to work, he insisted. Bimbo, an ambitious woman with her dreams, refused. His reaction was chilling. He belittled her, mocked her aspirations, and accused her of not valuing their future. The wedding date loomed closer, and Bimbo felt trapped, torn between her fear of losing herself and the overwhelming pressure to go through with it. Days after their traditional marriage, Bimbo stayed out late with Lisa. When she returned, Richard was by the door waiting, his eyes burning with fury. He grabbed her wrist so hard that it left a bruise. You belong to me, Angela, he screamed. Fear gripped her heart. That night, staring at her reflection, she finally acknowledged the truth. that she's about to marry a monster. But what could she do now? Invitations had been sent out, vendors booked. Her parents expected a grand wedding. The thought of backing out seemed impossible. The night before the white wedding, Bimbo stared at herself in the mirror. The wedding dress, a vision of lace and pearls, hung on the door, a haunting reminder of the life she was about to step into. Panic crept up her spine. Can she go through with this? What will people say if she runs? Doubt and fear battled within her. But an urgent whisper echoed in her mind. Leave now, before it's too late. The grand wedding was set. Hundreds of guests arriving with music playing. Richard stood at the altar, waiting. Bimbo walked down the aisle, escorted by her father. But with every step, memories flashed. Every insult, every bruise, every moment she felt small and helpless. Her hands trembled, her body shook, her breath quickened. And then, just inches from Richard, she froze. The weight of her decision pressed down on her. Instead of taking Richard's outstretched hands, Bimbo stepped back. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Tears welled in her eyes, but her voice, sharp and steady, said, I can't do this. Silence engulfed the church. Richard's face twisted with fury. He took a step forward, but before he could speak, Bimbo turned and ran out of the church, away from the suffocating expectations into the unknown. Lisa ran after her. Bimbo sought refuge with Lisa, who held her as she sobbed with relief. Meanwhile, Richard's fury knew no bounds. The tabloids didn't help matters. The tabloid carried the news with headlines. The runaway bride. The social media space buzzed with several comments and different viewpoints from well-known social critics. In response, Richard smeared Bimbo's name, calling her unstable and ungrateful. Her parents were shocked, confused, but Lisa stood by her side, assuring her that she did the right thing. The public humiliation stung, but freedom tasted sweeter. Bimbo took some days off from work and the public and embarked on a painful yet empowering journey of self-discovery, therapy and support from Lisa and her family, who later got to know the real reasons for her actions and helped her to untangle years of manipulation she had spent with Richard. She then secured another job in another city. Despite all of that, whispers still followed her. Some pitiful, some scornful, but she held her head high. She was no longer Richard's pawn. Richard refused to let go. He appeared at her apartment demanding she reconsider. But she refused his threats, and she sought a restraining order. For the first time, she felt truly free. Bimbo thrived in her career and became an advocate for women in toxic relationships. She spoke at events, sharing her story, empowering others to recognize their worth. She transformed her pain into purpose. Years later, Bimbo met Kojo, a kind, respectful Ghanaian man who cherished her independence. At first, she hesitated, afraid of falling into old patterns. But Kojo was different. He listened, supported, and never controlled. Love, for the first time, felt safe for Bimbo. Bimbo stood before a mirror, wearing a wedding dress once again. But this time she smiled. She was not bound by fear, nor shackled by expectations. This wedding was her choice. She had the peace of mind that she was doing the right thing by getting married to Kojo. As she walked down the aisle, her heart was steady with a beautiful smile that came from a place of understanding that she was getting married to the right person. She did not run, but was happy and grateful that she did not get married under pressure to the wrong person years ago, but glad she was embracing a future she built on her own terms. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing to African Tales by Ify. Do well to turn on your notification button for more exciting stories coming your way. Thank you. Bye.